Hey everybody. I get a lot of people that ask me how to pick a virtual market. And obviously, there's certain things you need to consider in terms of market population, local relationships that you already have in a market, the economics, cash activity. Some of those variables are all very important. What I wanted to do is actually show you a quick little hack using list source where you can narrow down on a specific market. So hypothetically, let's just say you've determined based on your research that Georgia as a state is a market that you want to go into. And so what I want to figure out is, well, okay, I know that Georgia is where I want to be, but specifically, what cities or counties or even zip codes make the most sense to go into. And one variable that's really helpful is looking at purchases made by investors. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to specifically look for absentee owners. So basically, what that means is the owner of a property does not reside at the actual property, which would imply that they're an investor. They've likely purchased it as a rental property. So what you can do when you come into list source, obviously you can create a free account very easily. And there are a number of investor predefined searches that you can leverage. So one of them happens to be absentee owner. So if I click on absentee owner, I can basically start to go through a series of steps to break this down to really understand, what cities are most active from an investor perspective, which is going to feed into my marketing in terms of, seller lead generation, or potentially even prospecting and connecting directly with cash buyers or investors. So to do this, you basically come into list source. You can use this predefined absentee owner filter. And I'm going to basically start to go through a series of steps to break this down. So the first thing I want to do is, again, I'm looking at the state of Georgia, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to select Georgia from my list. I'm going to add that over. Okay. I'm going to go on to the next step. Now, again, depending on how specific you want to get, you can really narrow this down. But for me, I'm wanting to really focus in on residential transactions. I'm looking to connect with prospective investors that have purchased residential homes. So I'm going to look at things like, townhome. I'm probably also going to look at duplexes, triplexes, apartments, fourplexes, and single family residence. I think that that's a pretty decent subset. And you'll kind of notice that these numbers will slowly start to chip away. I scroll down here again. You can get as granular as you want for the purposes of this exercise. I'm really just looking for a general sense of investor activity. So I'm not too concerned about the sale price of a property at this stage. One thing I do want to look at is I want to kind of narrow down on the date range. So again, this field here, last market recording date, basically indicates when the last sale of the home occurred. And so I want to look over the past 12 months. I find that that gives me a decent enough range to get an idea of activity. So if I scroll up now, you'll see the number is at still at over 374,000, which is a pretty significant number, considering this has all happened within the past year. I'm going to continue to scroll down here. Again, if you really want to narrow this down, you can, but I'm not too concerned about these other variables. The next page is basically going to take you to the details in terms of the actual owner of the property. So again, by default, because you selected the absentee list, it's already pre-selected absentee owned. These filters here, so I'm also going to select no preference in terms of corporate ownership. And basically now what I have is I have a search. You can see the criteria here, which basically is showing me in the state of Georgia, right? Residential purchases and absentee owners. And again, I'm looking for both corporate owned and individually owned. This gives me a good idea. Now, if I wanted to really kind of go a bit deeper, I might actually even select only corporate owned, because that's, in almost every situation, if a property is registered under a corporate entity, in addition to it being an absentee owner, you're almost certain that that was an investor, because most investors are purchasing through some form of an entity. So I now basically have my search. So I have, in the last year in the state of Georgia, 151 homes were purchased by absentee owners, corporate entities, pretty significant volume. So what I want to do now is I want to basically go and I'm going to select purchase a list. Now I'm not actually going to purchase a list, and this is where this tool gets pretty cool. I can come into this filter, and again, if I wanted to actually mail, skip trace, and really call all of these buyers, I could do that. But I'm not really at this point looking to hit the entire state of Georgia. I want to identify within the state of Georgia where's the most activity. So you click on this purchase partial list. And when you come here, you have the ability to do a custom selection and basically filter the information, that 150,000 right down. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. So let's say hypothetically, I want to understand which cities are most active. I could select city, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to show me out of that 151,000 which cities were most active. So I can see, looking at this list, Ackworth, obviously there were 1,700 absentee owner purchases. Adairsville, Albany, again, you scroll down here, and you get the details. There are over almost 12,000 in the city of Atlanta, Augusta. So hugely valuable, right? Because now I can really pinpoint which cities are the most active. If I wanted to go even deeper, I could do the same thing by zip code, or I could roll it up and maybe look at it in terms of county, right? So what I do now, so once I've effectively identified and set this up, I'm actually going to export, and what you can do is you can actually email this to you for free, and what you'll get is a spreadsheet that basically shows you all of these cities based on record count, and then I can filter, sort, and I can start to look at, okay, well, what are the top 10 most active cities, right? And then I can go deeper into each of those 10 cities. So I click export, and it's going to pop up a window, and then I can basically email this to me, right, in real time. And I'm going to just copy this over here, and I'm going to submit it. Close that, which is perfect. And basically, I'm going to pop over to my email. Usually it's pretty quick. Perfect. So that was almost immediate, right? So I open up the email. And I'm going to download the spreadsheet. I'm going to open up the spreadsheet. Here we go. So basically, I do a couple things with the spreadsheet. So now, again, I have all the cities within the state of Georgia and the total record count. So what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to delete this row. I'm just going to kind of clean this up, and I'm basically going to just add a data filter to this, right, so that I can easily sort. And then I can basically sort largest to smallest, and I can see, boom, here we go. So right here, I basically have the top 10 cities most active based on investor activity. Again, these are absentee owners, corporate entities that have purchased. So if I was going to now basically look to plan out a seller campaign, I've already identified Georgia. These are the cities I really want to hit hard, because I know if I'm generating leads, sell leads in these markets, my probability of finding an investor is going to be much higher. And so I basically will create my campaign, my seller campaign, marketing campaign, to really go after leads in these markets. So hope that was helpful to you. Certainly this is kind of something that's really helped me to kind of do our market research. And if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to me. You can connect with me on Instagram at RealJoshAlter. Email me, josh@tallbridgeinvestments.com. I'm on Facebook. Would love to connect with you. Let me know if there's any other topics that would be of interest to you, and I can do some quick demo videos for you. Anyways, happy investing. We'll talk to you soon.